Hello. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Let me just join the call onto, before we get started, I am going to start recording them on one of my devices because I will then turn them into podcasts. Because I just thought this would be also good for because you know that, I don't know if you know, but I was doing Bondi Radio, the Good Vibrations show.
Yep.
And hang on, has this joined to Facebook? Hold on. Live on Facebook, please. Yes. Where have you gone? Where have you gone? Oh, it's... Yeah. Live on Facebook, please. Oh, here it is. Onto sharing a group. Genius. God, you know, every time I'm evolving something, I'm always thinking about what we can do to stick it, and I keep wanting to change things. So now I want to changing the group Genius Zone to the Quantum Zone.
Yeah.
How does quantum sound?
Yeah, I love the word quantum.
Oh, me too. All right, are we live? Hold on, is it live? All right, title, Spotlight with Lyndall. It's DLE, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Hey, Oscar. No. Come on, off. Oscar. He's actually doing all his. He's doing paperwork in the back, and he rips up all of my bits and pieces. Not allowed to do that. He knows. You can jump on the quantum biohealth mat, Oski. Okay. I'll tell you when it's live on Facey. Even though all of this is recorded anyway, like this.
I can see it up the top.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, and it's just come on my watch telling me that you were live.
Okay, I'm gonna have to change Oski. Oscar, I'm sorry, you can't do that because this is important paperwork. Now you can get on the bench. Anyone out there who's got cats and I know you do, like Nomi, you've got a cat and some of you've got dogs, but the cats just rule the show, and if you're going live on something, they'll like have their tail move past the screen like this. That's what they'll do.
Don't forget about me.
No, it's all about Oski. Now he's happy. All right, now that the cat's happy, everyone, we can get crack-a-lackin'. All right. Let me press record on here. It's exciting.
So exciting.
And as I said, I will probably end up posting this on a podcast or the Bondi Radio show.
Amazing.
Well, welcome everyone. It is a monthly spotlight session in the Genius Zone with an amazing entrepreneur. She's a mumpreneur. And the spotlight sessions are not just about what you've achieved, they're also about really where you are at now and where you've come from. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, one of the key attributes I have discovered along the way is that entrepreneurs don't stop to smell the roses, men and women. So I would find more so women, probably because I work with more women. I'd have probably about 60% of women, 40% of men in my client base and people that I work with. However, I do find that women tend to just keep going and going and going. And especially if they're moms or mums, wherever you are watching in the world or listening to this, we find that a woman's role is never done. You know, she's constantly thinking about, did she do enough for her children, for her partner or for her husband, for anyone else in her life, like clients. And even though this is not a show about women for women, this is a show to celebrate human beings everywhere where they are on their journey of making a difference and being their true voice global. I love bringing people into the spotlight session because everyone deserves a spotlight to go, where have you come from in the last year, 6 weeks or 6 months, depending on what we're going to be talking about, and what challenges have you had along the way, as well as what pieces of advice or shares can you give to empower others who are inspired by your journey, your fan base, and also those who really want to get out of where they're at so that they can have freedom. So tonight, I welcome Lyndall, who is proud mother and owner of HBLC, and she's going to tell you a bit more about what that is. But I have known Lyndall for about 5 years now, and 4 or 5 years, and I've watched her go from strength to strength, definitely hit some big hurdles personally and professionally, and I've had a wonderful pleasure and honor with working with her in the last couple of months to really align brain, being, business, and her body to go quantum in what she's doing. So welcome, Lyndall, and thank you for coming on tonight. So please, your background is in the well-being and in the hair and beauty initially, and recently more holistic in the well-being. You are also a startup in a new space, but also old business owner, as in a young woman, but an old business owner. So you've been in the game for a while. You've been a solopreneur, you've been an employee, you've been a contractor, you've been a business owner. You are now a app developer. You are now building a national, and then obviously your goals are a global business. Oh my goodness, what else can I say? You're a mother of two. And yes, you've gone from, I guess, beauty to beauty inside and out, which is the healing and inner journey. So please welcome, and thank you so much for sharing your journey in this spotlight session.
Thank you for having me. And wow, when it's so funny when you have other people start to kind of highlight what you've actually done and the journey you've been on. So I have been in business for 13 years. That's sort of when my business Hair on the Move to You was originally originated and born. And that was all about mobile hairdressing. And then I moved into makeup, and I've been doing mobile hairdressing and makeup for years. And then having my kids kind of really made me need to diversify. And, I couldn't do it all myself anymore, so they were such a blessing for me, because it was always work 7 days a week. You do whatever you have to kind of get what needs to be done. But having children really made me think, how can I work smarter, not harder? Because I want to be around to see my children grow up and not be working 7 days a week and actually have days off. So that's really when the whole bringing in contractors started to sort of really grow, and then seeing that that really was a need and that people really wanting that across really all states, which then led us to, there were no systems available that could give us the help, because all the systems for the health and beauty space was all made for in shops. So
what do you mean by systems? Tell me a little bit about what your frustrations were about the kind of systems you were after.
So like booking systems. So, there's so many booking systems and platforms that people could use to book appointments online and things like that. But it only meant that it was for stationary for one particular space. And we have people all over Sydney, Melbourne, Queensland, and I essentially had to know. So all the jobs would come through, and I needed to know where everybody was situated. So that meant that I was always tied to the business. I could never outsource anything, because I knew who did what service and where they were located, and, was that going to be viable for them to travel from there to there, and, that type of thing. I did all of it in my head for years and years, but then, how do you then scale a business and make it something that's really usable for the client, and also for the therapist or the artist that's, on the back end receiving jobs. So that then led us down the road of searching and not being able to find anything. So then we've now built our own custom software, which is all GPS location sensitive. So it's really going to be about pairing clients with the right artist or therapist or specialist within their area or demographic, depending on what they're looking for. So That's pretty exciting. That's due to launch in about a month. So we're doing lots. We're in the testing stage at the moment. So it's actually like pinching myself. It's been 2 years in the making, and we're finally getting there. We're going to be able to start using it. So that's really exciting.
So let me just ask a couple of questions, and I want to highlight a couple of things that you just said. You had the challenge, the frustration was, and so for everyone that's, I guess, listening, is that often your greatest abundance and I guess business ideas will come from your greatest frustration. So where you are personally frustrated, you know, I invite you, how does that tie into your business, and how does that really, by you finding a solution for that, how could that help more people? And when you come from that aspect of how could you help more people, and you really find a solution for yourself, which is, I think everyone is in that game when they either become a therapist or when they become a practitioner or a service provider, they usually become a service provider from a place of sheer frustration of something.
Mhm.
And the most successful business owners are the ones who create a solution which relieves pain for a lot of people. So, and I also want to highlight that you said, for practitioners, or you didn't say practitioners, but you said something to do artists and practitioners or therapists.
Artists, therapists, all those sorts of things. Yeah.
And that is what, you all are. Like, you entrepreneurs are the artists. You don't have to be a singer or a musician. So, like myself, I'm a singer and a musician, or even an author, to be seen or known as an artist. Artists are the people who are definitely opening the gateways through creativity.
Creating. Yeah.
Through creativity. And whether or not you're tuning into music or sound, yes, music and sound or painting does come, that does hit another dimension, 100%. But creativity itself hits another dimension of operating and being. So when you get creative about creating a solution for people, you are at the next level. So that brings me to, what advice would you give somebody that feels like they want to go into a tech or an app, or because so much of that is so much more prevalent right now. Um, some people feel or realize that that's the direction that they need to go in to have an edge. You've created the edge. You're about to launch it, and what advice would you give someone who is thinking about or wanting to develop an app?
I think, like with anything, there's sort of a level of knowing exactly what you need the system to do for you. Doing your market research, seeing what is or isn't available for you. So we went through lots of different resources of, is there anything on the market that we could utilize? Was that going to be cost effective? And that's usually what it came back down to, was that it was going to cost us X amount for each person that we had, or each practitioner, artist, therapist that we had on the system. And some people at that stage weren't kind of stagnant, so they weren't really being utilized. So it would have cost us a hell of a lot more to use a system like that. And then it wasn't ours, it wasn't customized to exactly what we needed it to do in the functionality. So I think research with anything, just, really knowing what you need and really seeking what's available to you. And testing lots of things and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't, and then finding the right people that can really help support you in growing that and making that a viable option. I was really fortunate that I got the Digital Champions grant. So that really helped me on my journey of clarification. And, they helped me kind of source a few other people as well that I had already found the app developers that I wanted to use. Look, I'm not going to say it was an easy journey. Like, it was extremely bumpy. We kind of got to the end of one road and they presented me with a product that was only half usable. So then, we budgeted for that, and then we had to go and find more investment to then continue the growth so that we could actually utilize the system for ourselves as well as for the client journey. So I think, it's kind of one of those things. It's an evolving, and I don't think the app will ever be 110% finished. Like, there'll always be things and aspects, I think, that will probably add into it or add on to it to make it even better to, do what we need it to do. But there's so much now that we've got this system that we can now sell off. So not only will it benefit us, but I think it will eventually be able to benefit loads of other businesses as well. So yeah.
And do you know how many times I work with people or find that working with certain business owners, they go and create a particular solution for something, and it may or may not be their passion. Like, you may never have gone, oh, it's my passion to create an app. But
No.
people, your passion is to do transformation and beauty. And it's interesting, and to be there for your kids. But guess what? You're creating this thing which very well could end up being the thing that sets you financially free on so many levels, while you're doing everything else that you love.
Mm.
And it's on the journey. So some people get really obsessed, and this is another thing that I want to highlight, is that some people get really obsessed on the way of going, well, I have to get paid for what I love. And I remember saying, to people, well, everything that you do is about doing what you love. But along the way, you might discover this thing and that thing, which is not a distraction. It's part of the journey. It's on the way, and it can be abundant, be part of the very thing that you're doing, and generate all sorts of extra impact and benefit and influence in the world. Now, you're going to be having an app that many other people and businesses are very likely possibly going to need or license or access. So there's a great revenue model there. And for anyone else who's also building or thinking about doing an app, think about the different partnerships and the different, as you're raising capital or investment money for it. Other things you can think of is whether there's going to be advertising space, other ways of revenue, how this is going to generate income or flow of customers moving through, and what other partnerships are possible. Because it can be a very overwhelming journey in creating something that you have no experience in. But just like Lyndall and her business, it could very well be the one of the key tools and cash flow revenue generators in the particular part of your business, while you go and do everything else that is really your key, product. So I think that's amazing. So how old are your kids, Lyndall?
So my daughter Ivy is nearly 8 and Saxon is 6. And they're pretty incredible kids.
Well, they would be, because the kind of relationship you have with them, is very transparent. It is very honest, and I know one of the biggest values in your life is truth and honesty. And so, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges for you if you want to share, in your personal life as you grow in your business?
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked, and I'm really willing to be really transparent with you. Before starting with you earlier a few months ago,
Hold on, just a little back up. Lyndall has become, she's doing a VIP, which is called a um, fast track process, fast track to fulfillment process. And so it's a couple of weeks long, and it was just a little background. We have been circling around each other for years, until one day Lyndall came over for coffee, and she goes, basically, I'm here to come and give you some money because I'm ready to work with you. Please send me an invoice now before I leave. And that's kind of what kicked the process. We've always had a transformative relationship in that context. We met through some workshops, and we've sort of teetered on, just played in that space, and obviously connected as women and mothers. And then, yes, Lyndall came over one day, and that was it. And it's sort of history since then. So you were going to say, before you started working with me, some of the challenges were?
Yeah. So I think even going back into last year, 2020, was really all about digging deep and really working on my spiritual growth and my spiritual enlightenment. And through that journey, what I have noticed is that it kind of just stripped the veil away of, that facade that you like to show yourself of what your life is. And it really showed me the truth of the situations in certain relationships in my life that weren't really serving me anymore. And that was kind of keeping me stuck in that space and not really enabling me to move forward. So I really kind of played with that for a while and asked myself loads of questions around what that felt like and what that looked like. And then beginning of the year, I made the really hard decision to end my marriage, because I just didn't think it was working for either of us. So that was really, really testing and really hard to do, because I don't think you ever walk away from something like that easily. It was obviously heavy on my heart. And in that process, I also happened to miscarry. So not only was I going through that emotional trauma of needing to leave the marriage, but also physically and emotionally going through the trauma of miscarrying. And fortunately, so like I'm thankful that the universe delivered it in such a way, because it wasn't the right timing. And I can definitely see that silver lining, but it really kind of pushed me to step outside of my comfort zone and do the things that were scary, and push myself to be better. And I think the decision to work with you, Ani, was always kind of like, I was really truly ready to invest in myself, because I'm ready to really move forward and be the best version of me and for the sake of my children and my business. I've been able to see where I'm going, and now that I've essentially created freedom in my life to be able to do that by I don't need to ask permission anymore, which is also a really interesting concept, because in a marriage, you don't usually need to ask permission, but there always seems to be this feeling of you need to ask some sort of permission to invest in yourself or whatever it is you need to do. So yeah, it's been hugely transformative. And then I was having a lot of money blocks. I've always had a lot of money blocks. And that was probably one of the major things when I first started working with you, aside from everything else, because I had clarity around why I was doing what I was doing. But then it was always that money block. And then it was the worthiness of just kept coming up of, not feeling worthy enough to create the abundance, not feeling worthy enough to have the money, to have the life, to have the love, to have all of those things. It was all around worthiness. So there's been a lot of unpacking around what worthiness looked like for me. And I can say, like, hand on heart, in the time that I've worked with you, I have manifested more money into my reality than ever before. Like, it's just, in 3 weeks, I made $9,000 gross in just for myself personally working, not even for my business. So I'm seeing things really transform. And, it took me to having to really move through that fear of investing in myself. And it was like such a large amount of money. I was like, this makes me so uncomfortable. And what I keep hearing time and time again from all these entrepreneurs is, the more uncomfortable it is, the better the outcome. And I see it now and I understand. It's like, you just got to push on through. So yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible journey, and it's only just really the beginning and touching the surface. But like, I really feel like now I'm going to just go from strength to strength.
100%. And no matter once I engage with people in such a, I guess, one-on-one and deep dive capacity, the relationship is actually forever most of the time. So it's, you've really done a deep dive. You've gone, I'm doing this, and there's no option not to 10x my investment, my energy, my return, where I'm going, what clarity, where I want to take things. So I think that's amazing, and that's testament to you and where you're at. So you reiterating, you had the biggest challenges around a loss of a baby early in the year, and then choosing to end the marriage and transform and literally getting on board with our one-on-one program, as well as probably working more than ever in terms of how much you've done in just 6-7 weeks in your business. Like, you're constantly coming back to me with some incredible, like, I've discovered this, I'm no longer doing this, I'm now aligned to that, and this is coming in, and this is really what I'm clear about where it's going, and I can see it now. Plus, I'm open to my king. I'm open to only that aligned relationship. I remember you've said, I have no space for anything, but I'm not even wasting time in dating. I'm not even wasting time on talking to people, because you just know when you know when you know, and I know when it's right and when it's not. So I think that's an amazing space to be.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's in that space of not sure, or kind of making a shift on something that's been a habit, or you've been inside a pattern, the best thing you can do is just to change the habit, interrupt the pattern, and make some new choices moving forward. And like Linda said, is getting a little uncomfortable is the healthiest and best thing for you. So up until now in this conversation, what would be 1 or 2 pieces of advice? I mean, I've heard some key things, But what would be one or two pieces of advice that you would love to share with people in terms of being in your, I guess, in backing yourself? Or it really depends on the message, whatever your message, whatever you want your message to be. There's quite a few messages I've heard so far in what you're sharing, but it's
Yeah.
really whatever you want to highlight. And because I'm going to type a couple of these in our group,
Yeah.
in our zone, in the zone. So key messages or takeaways that you want people to have.
Well, I just think there's so many, but I think the biggest revelations for me, because I've also been doing energy work, as you know, but nobody else does. So I'm really aligning myself with, my true purpose. So and my aligned purpose and my vision within my life. So as the leader that I am, and my personal brand, and then I'm also getting clarity around what my business is and what that looks like, and really getting clear on how all of those fit in. And that was when I first started working with you. I didn't have that clarity around who is Lindell the brand and who is HBLC the brand, and how do all those pieces of the pie fit together. So I'm really stepping into who I am and what I have to offer, and that's on every aspect of who I am. But again, I think reiterating that in those spaces of feeling fearful, or really feeling like you need to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, is really when the biggest growth happens. And for me, I think emotional stuff isn't even as big for me. I can deal with that. It's the spending of money. Like, that was a huge block for me. How can I invite millions of dollars into my world if I can't even invest a few thousand into myself to be the best version of me? So if I can't spend that to allow more to come in, how is that truly going to happen? So, I know I'm destined for success. I've always known that. And I know I'm here to do really big things. But until I really pushed my outer limits and my absolute boundaries, especially in spending, because there was always that scarcity mentality, and that you need to hold on to it, you need to save, and you need to be careful with your money. And I've always watched my pennies. So to kind of just move into a bit more of a free flow, trusting in the universe, trusting that if I'm truly investing in myself and doing what I know is right for me, that the universe will then deliver tenfold. And even halfway through, there was that little doubt in my head, thinking, how the hell is this extra money going to just appear? And we got casted for a role as a family, and that was like $10,000. I also got some child maintenance. That's another few $1,000s that I wasn't expecting. So there's just been all these different bits and pieces of money that has just come in unexpectedly, and that's exactly how it happens. So
Exactly, alongside with the money that you were hoping to expect, or in terms of alongside the stuff that came in through your business and what you cleared. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And just also, the clients that are coming, they have a higher value. So they're willing and able to spend a lot more. So I'm not working necessarily harder for that money. I'm working less with less clients, and not absolutely killing myself, because the clients that are coming through are much higher value. So I'm making a lot more money in the same amount of time. So it's just things like that. It's just people are just really valuing what I have to offer. And I don't know, it's so interesting, just how I'm showing up and just being so at peace with who I am. And I can see that people are really responding to that aspect of me, and they can really see that there's no forcefulness. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm just simply showing up with all of who I am, with this knowingness within myself. And it is just I think there was a couple of weeks ago, we talked about commanding that presence. And I'm seeing that people are telling me that they can see that in me, and all the things, it's just incredible. It blows my mind that I'm meeting all these new people, and they're really, I can see they're inspired by what I have to say, and the things that are coming out of my mouth, because they know it's the truth. So it's just an amazing space, that when you own yourself, how the world recognizes that.
I remember when that came up years ago, saying or sharing with people, it's the difference between commanding and demanding.
Mm.
And that was so key in knowing that in myself, of going, oh my goodness, this is, even without speaking, this is what it feels like to walk in the room, feel confident, have inner power, and know that I'm influencing people just by breathing, and in a good way, in a beneficial way. And I don't feel like I have to be demanding. Whereas before, when I had lower self confidence, I would feel that I was, oh, can I maybe, sorry for what I was
When
asking.
you feel like you got to prove yourself a little bit. Yeah.
And it just shifted, and then starting to share that message in the last couple of years around command creates results and presence. So your commanding energy will produce the results, and command transforms the space that you're in as opposed to demanding. And so you're totally an example of that on every level, in terms of in personal and professional, and you've said it to me in feedback. So I think that's super exciting. And something where this draws me to, I like kind of asking this because you've already mentioned some of the limiting beliefs that you have. So I'm going to highlight them because I know that it comes up a lot for the group as well as for clients and all entrepreneurs out there. And that's this stuff around self belief
Mm.
and scared around selling, scared around spending money, self worth. So from a perspective of what the journey that you've been on, and you're very self-aware, you're extremely self-aware, you know what limiting beliefs that you've had, you know what you've needed to shift, and you've also been open to hearing and seeing what was a real surprise in our work, that you're like, oh, that's still there, or that I didn't know that was there, and you've shifted all of that. So what would be the key, you can say as many as you want, what would be the key limiting beliefs that you either learned as a child or a woman,
Yeah.
or early on in early life, that formed you to step into the limitations of your business
Yeah.
before you transformed them? So I'm going to write them down in our group as well. So what would be the limiting beliefs?
I think last week, the one that came up was around, I don't have the skills, I don't have the ability, I'm not smart enough. Yeah, it was kind of all around that, and acknowledging that I might not have all of that now, but I have the resources to find the right people that can help me and enable me to create what I want to create. So it doesn't always have to be me. I can actually just outsource that information or find the people that can help me.
Great, I
But
love one. So that's a key one. What's another one?
worthiness was huge for me. Like, I've done so much work around worthiness in every level of, worthy of receiving, worthy of believing, worthy of love. Like, anything worthy was just a real sticky point for me for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other limiting beliefs that impacted, whether they're limiting beliefs as a woman or from your personal life or anything else that, I mean, feel free to, if there's anything that you felt that you learned from parents or
Yeah.
as a child or through younger experiences that have impacted your business or your business decisions?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I just feel like through this journey is that our business is a reflection of us. And the more we're able to grow and expand and dig within who we are, I feel like the more you're able to kind of grow and expand within your business. And I mean, I don't know how much that is true for every person, but absolutely for me, the more that I grow and expand, also comes in with this new knowledge and visions and purposes and all these different roads that we can go down to help enable other people in similar positions, grow their business within our business, and what kind of affiliate marketing programs that can we, who can we then partner with. So like, there's always just these constant drop-ins of what businesses align, but ultimately it always comes back down to me being willing to expand my consciousness and be in the question. So I just feel like I'm constantly in the question now, always asking, for myself and for other people, and questioning people on, well, how does that belief serve you? And why would you allow that person to do that if it makes you feel like this? And so like, these are the conversations I'm having on such a regular basis now, is always being in the question for myself and other people. And it enables a whole lot more growth within me and within, others, and what then is being reciprocated back to me. So it's fascinating, actually.
I love that. So I'm just going to reiterate some of the things that Linda's sharing with you guys. Is that the limiting beliefs that she grew up with was not feeling like she was smart enough, having the skills or the ability, and then also not feeling worthy or being worthy of receiving. Also, scarcity around not investing in self. And also now where she's at, because I've been writing this down and I'll press enter once I finish the writing of it inside the group. Now she's got a belief in herself. There's no selling. There's a knowledge of self, commanding presence, and that she knows that she has the resources anytime she has a question. And one of the other key messages around this is that your business is ultimately a reflection of who you are, because it's constantly expanding your consciousness and be inside of the questioning process, i.e., does it serve me and does it serve you? And does this enable growth for all? I love that. And on the lucid scale, that's really a minimum of 7 out of 10, which is creating win-win-win situations for all. Is there anything else that you feel that has been a real turning point in your journey as a mompreneur, or in your life, that's been a real key to you being more of who you are inside of your business?
For me, it's all been about my spiritual development and my spiritual journey, because, the more I'm accessing that higher consciousness and that higher level of self for me and for my clients, it's helping me trust in my intuition, and it's helping me understand how truly gifted I am with the messages that I get downloaded for myself and other people. And how I have this unique ability. So I think growing up I always felt extremely ostracized, and like I never really fit in, and I was always a little bit odd compared to everybody else, and I always had this knowingness of things, and I would say things that made people uncomfortable because they were so right, and I used to think there was something wrong with me. But now I understand, like, it's such a unique and amazing gift and ability to be able to have such insight for myself and for others in particular, that I can really see the truth of an individual, and that I can really see each person for who they truly are, even if they can't see it for themselves. So that's absolutely been pivotal for me, because I can see now, as I continue to grow and expand in this space, how this is really going to benefit my teams and all the people that I then come into contact with working wise, because I'm going to be able to help them shift and elevate and, move into the space that they want to move into a lot faster as well, because of these unique abilities, and having connections like yourself and other people in that space where I can really bring together the right spaces to really help these people, clients and practitioners.
I love that. So basically, the turning point you would say is for acknowledging, and let me know if this is reiterating what you just said. The turning point is really acknowledging your unique abilities and gifts along your spiritual journey, knowing that that is what is going to uplift and help everyone else recognize their own inner gifts. It helps you trust yourself and means that everything that you do can grow. So that would be the main turning point, you would say? When you realize that, was there an age that you realized that? Was there a moment that you realized that? Was it?
No, not really. I think, like, I've just done a 2-day workshop as well, which has really been helping me, I think, articulate and verbalize and get a lot clearer on sort of what I've just talked about as well. So it's like literally like an ever evolving evolution of going, wow, I didn't realize I know that. And until I kind of start to say things out loud, I'm just like, oh wow, that really, that really has been a turning point for me. And I can see how I've really grown and expanded through that experience, or this experience, or, through that being able to access consciousness better.
So I think a key thing as well, what you've suggested and said there, and I've just pressed enter stuff, written it all down there in our group, is that when you say things out loud, it's another added benefit of doing these spotlight sessions, because many people don't get to articulate the changes they've done, and this is part of the celebration. So the moment you get interviewed, and this happens with me all the time, that's why when I'm in session with people, or in a session doing a group session, I love it when you ask me certain things. I love it when you ask more questions, because I then am forced not forced. I love the process of being interviewed because I have to express to that group, that person, that question, that population in a whole different way, and it never comes out the same way.
Mm.
Even if I'm teaching content that I've written, pre-written a skeleton of, it never ever comes out the same way because I'm always serving a different person the question. So that articulation process is saying it out loud, guys, and that's part of the reason that's benefit to have a coach or to have somebody who you get to work with, you get to articulate the changes with, and on any kind of, like, whether it's or getting interviewed. So for those of you who are growing businesses, whether or not you have a coach, this is not about necessarily selling coaching or mentoring. This is about you being your true voice and getting it into the market and global and sharing your expression. Because the only thing that makes us stand out from any other species is our ability to be artists and express and create. The way you say the very same thing, at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be happy, everyone wants to feel connected and feel abundant. But there's, as unique as our DNA is as unique as your message and how you share getting to you, you know, getting to where you are with the world. That's why it's so great to invest in someone or something or get interviews where you're forced to articulate. And I'll tell you this, the better you learn how to the more authentic we each learn how to express our journey and our insights, is the more we're going to get interviewed, is the more people want to get to hear the message. The more vulnerable you can be, the more articulate you can be about what the challenges and the movement forward, the more metaphors, as in the more examples you can give, because we've all had moments of abandonment, betrayal, challenges with a parent or a partner or a lover, which was in the way of us really becoming who we were born to be, or challenges with children, or being bankrupt in the business. The more you can dive in and go, what is my story? You know, one of the things that really helped me along the way of doing shows as an artist and performing songs that I've written and created is that when you do a show, it is entertainment, but it's also bearing your soul. You can't just kind of show up and not engage with an audience and just go, oh, hey, this is what I wrote. You got to say, okay, well, the way this song came about. Not everyone's a talker on stage. Some people just go one sentence and they perform, and the mystique with which they perform is that which sells. But in some of my performance coaching, which I hired some incredible artist mentors, just really taught me on the journey of the song, the journey of where you put each song in a set, and exactly what it is you want to say in 30 seconds, which is kind of like a mini business pitch. It's kind of like that elevator pitch when you have to tell a person in the elevator what you do and how you do it, which is all about inviting them to tell you more, right? And I would have to say, well, this song is about feeling invincible. And so many times you barely feel like there's safety pins holding you together. And that's a line in the song, right? Cracked lips and dry winter winds. I felt a chill in my heart. Hatched up by safety pins. So glad that's all in the past. And then the chorus was, when I'm next to you, I'm invincible. So it gives you that, contrast of I'm barely got these safety pins holding me together because I'm broken and my lips are chapped. I'm in a storm, but when I'm next to you, I'm invincible. So, gosh, I had no intention of telling you guys about it, but the point was, it's just really come back to what you said, Lyndall, about that process of having to articulate something and somebody pulling out the message from within you.
Yeah. And it is interesting. I was only thinking this afternoon, I'm going to have to absolutely keep up sessions with you, whether it be once a month or once a fortnight, because it is, for me, I am such a talker and there's always stuff dropping in, and, writing isn't even enough to be able to truly articulate what's going on and the messages that are coming through. And it's in those moments you kind of have the ahas when you've gone, oh yeah, and this did drop in and that dropped in, and you get all excited and you're able to share kind of what's evolved in like a week or 2 weeks. And in 1 week, it's just amazing, all of the stuff that comes through. So, it just proves how much you need to have people like that to help keep you accountable and to help keep you talking and keep that momentum going. Because I'm kind of like, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I look forward to our sessions, and it's like, oh, that's my Monday thing that gets set me up for the week.
We'll find a way to keep it happening. And I just love that you recognize, and this is the thing, when you recognize the moment you go, this is what I do differently. I dropped the scarcity thing. I made it happen. Abundance came through. I'm moving forward. The moment you acknowledge the thing that you chose to, because I'm not doing this for you, it's what's coming out of you in the process. I'm literally just standing there and witnessing amazing changes. We just got to keep putting ourselves in an environment of people who help us feel amazing. And it's not that they're doing the work for us, they're just constantly navigating or shifting or refining or whatever it is that we need to do. It's kind of like sometimes you do the most amazing work when you just believe and know that you've got the right team and people around you.
Yeah, but also I think I really, really want to touch on, because I know I said in my little bio at the beginning, when I first come to see you, also I think because of the miscarriage, my body was, I literally was flatlining. I don't know how I was functioning as a person. I think my thiamine was like 25%, like so low. I just was struggling every day. I was just pushing through because that's what you do. And through this process, like I've been battling a cold this week, the last few days. I haven't felt great, but I had a massive release today through a process that we did. And miraculously, I feel so much better. So it is just amazing that the quicker you can release stuff, and you find ways to have these releases within my body now, is that it just doesn't stay in my body and stop me from physically not being able to do what I need to do. So I really wanted to touch on how much my physical self has changed, and how many people have said to me, gosh, you look like you've lost weight. I haven't lost any weight. I think what's happened is my digestion is working better. I'm not holding on to fluid like I was. And ultimately, I think I'm just glowing inside and out.
Hey, that's awesome. I guess so for people who are wondering what it is that happens and that what we do when it comes to one-on-one, like yes, it's amazing working with a mentor or a belief, whether it's a mentor or a coach or a business coach and so on. I guess one thing that Lyndall's there talking about and mentioning, for those of you who don't know, there's like 25 years background in body and kinesiology and mind body medicine. So I am trained in helping people recover their adrenal system, in helping them physically get beyond digestive issues and so on and so forth. And one of the things I do find is that all entrepreneurs struggle with metabolic or energy dysfunction at some level. And so for those of people who are flatlining, I actually just had a client on Friday who said, they kept falling asleep after every meal that they had, and they spent so many thousands of dollars from therapists and so on, with some problems with their skin and digestion, so on and so forth. But they texted and said, wow, I had gluten and alcohol for lunch after a business meeting and I didn't fall asleep, and it stayed. Sending you my mum and my fiance, so it was interesting. Like, we can, and there's ways, if people don't know, there's definitely ways you can quickly address health and digestion, endocrine, limbic system issues, which is really where my, I guess, expertise is on aligning your body with your business, because you can't just go out and go create all this money in the world and then flatline and burn out. It's going to be no good to anyone.
Yeah. And I think that's what I absolutely love about you, is that you are so much about the whole aspect of a person. It's not just one side of things. It's really, really integrating the whole aspect. And like, adrenal fatigue has definitely been a massive killer for me over the years. So, I've still got a little ways to go, but in general, like, I'm coping better. I'm not getting, to the end of the day and being completely broken. And, I'm not as fragile. I'm finding I am able to eat gluten now where I couldn't before. I'd end up like ballooning. It's I still try not to because I just know it's better for me not to. But now when I do, it's just not so much of a big issue. And it wasn't until you just said this now, and I've eaten it the last few days, and I've actually been okay. So I'm like, wow, that's interesting.
Well, yeah, that's another celebration. And again, that's another point of celebration because your body's becoming more resilient.
Mm.
And one of the things that, you've really also highlighted in this spotlight session is you're owning yourself, your self-worth, who you are. And for everyone out there listening, the sooner you get to that I am presence, like I am this woman, I am this man, whoever it is you are, I am this entrepreneur, and I own it. I'm made to make millions to serve others so that I can allow more abundance to move through my system. I'm going to need a healthy body, a healthy vehicle, a healthy everything, that I can be at the top of my game. And it's about working smarter, not harder. I want more time to have more fun. And ultimately, success, I believe, is where you can have, I think I use the F's, and I did this with you as well, Rebecca, is having more fun, more fulfillment, more freedom in finances, flow, and flexibility, which is, if we can create that, having fun with more people we love, with freedom with time, with money, with finances, then I don't know what that, I don't know.
Who wouldn't want that?
Who wouldn't want that? Yes, thank you. Who wouldn't want that as a version of their success? So this is what we're all creating. And when you have meaningful relationships on the way, then money doesn't even come up because money becomes an energy exchange where, everyone needs to master the domain of money, i.e., we all need to get to a place where money can serve us, when we're not just a slave to the money, where we slowly transition from being a slave to the bills, from getting on top of our bills, to getting into financial flow, to getting into I have excess money, to getting into I have money to invest, to getting into, oh, I don't even spend my own money because I know how to do partnerships and I know how to do win-win-win. So even better, right? So when we start to have a better relationship with money, which is just your self-worth, which is about energy, which is about being your enoughness, which is about being your soul wants you to be abundant. Your soul wants you to be free, so the more we get into that vibe with everything, it's just an exchange, and it's not about holding on to it. It's about constantly allowing your net worth to grow, your fund base to grow, but you just allow the money to keep moving through and you spend it wherever it is that feels right for you at the time in your life.
Touching on that, I agree with you 110%. And I've heard this philosophy so many times. And until this point right now, I never really truly got it. And I think that was truly because I had so many like limiting beliefs and blocks that were standing in the way of allowing me to believe that. So I'd really encourage anybody who, is feeling like they've got those blocks to really find somebody that can help them, especially you, because you are so instrumental in helping people do that. But whatever way to really move through those blocks as quickly as possible, to really be able to step into all of that is, because the quicker you can do that, it is the most empowering and amazing space. And like, I honestly just can't bang on about it enough, because I am the happiest I've ever been within myself, and being single, I was only single like however many years ago, and just seeing the polarity of how I was then to how I am now, there is just no essence of desperation in who I am, because I'm so self-assured. And that in itself is like the biggest gift ever. And I know that now I can teach my daughter that just simply through being. And like what the most amazing gift that I can possibly give my daughter and my son, that, the more you step into all of who you are, just that's teaching them. You don't have to preach anything, you just be that space. So yeah,
I love that, and I love that about you and what you're sharing. And I know that when this goes live and into other spaces, people are just going to be celebrating you and where you are. And I know that even 6 months from today, or a year from today, like, we'll be talking to yet another woman. So I'm excited. Is there any last tips that you want to share with people, with business owners? I'm just going to reiterate one last time, guys. Okay, so some of the key messages that Lyndall from HBLC is sharing. And remember, Lyndall is a mompreneur. She has gone through some struggles, not just with her own losses, losing a child, but also a marriage. stepping into empowered spaces. She's an app developer. She knows how to do partnerships and how to literally ask for money with grants and so on and so forth. So she's not just an app developer and a startup. She's also going national and global with her HBLC business, which is all about empowering beauty, not just on the outside with hair and makeup, but within as well with transformation. Her key messages in today's interview and spotlight session is that she has had some revelations about aligning with yourself, true purpose, leader, and brand. That's been a key thing. She's done a lot of that in our one-on-one fast track to fulfillment one-on-one program, but she's really stepped into the space of ditching feeling fearful and scarce to pushing herself past her comfort zone to really grow and expand. That's what she says as a tip for you. The other tip she has is about ditching from going from limiting beliefs like I don't have the skills, I don't know enough, or I'm not smart enough, I don't have the ability, or I'm not worthy enough. She's had a lot of that going on in her past, of receiving, of being heard, of numbers, scarcity in spending money on the self, never invested in herself, to now she's in belief about in self. She's not ever selling. She knows how to command her presence, which she says that she's something she learned recently about, really that shift from demanding but commanding energy. When she walks into the room, people ask her about what she thinks and they stop and listen. As I said, she's never selling. She's also said that another key message is that your business is your reflection of who you are. Key is expanding the consciousness and be inside the question, which means, does it really serve me or you, whatever is happening right now? Is it enabling growth for both people? The key turning point for her was acknowledging her unique abilities and gifts, that she was, even though she saw herself as different and felt a little bit, on the outside as a kid and as a young woman, she realizes that she had some special gifts, acknowledging her spiritual journey and knowing that when she invests in herself and trusts herself and her inner guidance, her inner gifts, things will always show up for her. And she also says, the key is saying things out loud. So there's a lot of tips there. Is there anything else before we leave tonight's session that you want to say? And in that, I want to say, what is your future vision? So two things. Any other key thing? And then
So
tell us.
it's not a key thing, but there's something that I feel really inspired to share and challenge people on. So one of the things that I really want to step up and do more for myself is do lives. So even if it's just one live a week, just sharing my story, sharing my truth, and whoever it resonates with, great, and whoever it doesn't, great. I'd challenge people to do something that is challenging, that's going to make them step out of their comfort zone a little bit. So that's probably that just like is coming through loud and proud. So you've got to share that one. If you can just do one thing, commit to one thing a week that really challenges you, I think that will just help you grow and move. And what was the second question about future vision?
Where do you see yourself in your future?
Yeah. So ultimately I see myself being a spiritual coach, mentor, basically in that space, healer, to help predominantly my team, but whoever wants my assistance in really kind of unlocking limiting beliefs and like really doing digging work around that sort of stuff to help you move from where you are to where you want to be. But I think my main vision for HBLC is really about how can we create a platform, a community, which is really all around health and wellness and on every aspect of what that looks like. So making better choices with the products that we're using. So it's really being sustainable, from the shampoos, conditioners, makeups, just plastics, reusables, bags, everything that you can possibly think of that we use, that we consume in everyday life, down to the services. So that's essentially how I see our platform working now, that we have products that we house, products that we endorse through partnerships that have that same ethos and sustainability feature. And, surrounding ourselves with like-minded therapists, practitioners, and people like that can really continue to share that vision really globally, because, that's really where we want to take it. We want to be able to make big changes for the rest of our lineage, you know, like our children and our children's children. And if, you know, I used to think for a really long time that who am I? I'm just one person. How can I make a difference? What can I possibly do to make a difference? But what I'm starting to see is, you know, each individual person has so much more power through choices. If you just make that conscious choice, and it's all about consciousness. Again, I keep talking about consciousness because that's where it's at. The more conscious we are about the words that we use, the way that we show up, the products that we decide to use, the people that we decide to align ourselves with, you know, the better that it just becomes this monopoly, this domino effect, you know, and that's just how I see the business. You know, everybody, the business is just the vessel to create that community of a sustainable life. And it is so possible. We just need to be conscious enough to make those decisions.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know that just sharing that, you know, there's going to be so many people that want to choose to buy from you because of your philosophy. And where can people find you?
So probably the best place would be me personally on Facebook. I'm kind of plastered everywhere because I've got quite a few spaces, but ultimately the website is www.hairbeautylifeco.com. So we are still working on all of that, but you know, if you feel like you align with that and you kind of want to become essentially a partner with our space, we would absolutely love to connect with you because, you know, we've got the visions. It's really just about putting all of it into practice now so that we can be that one hub that kind of brings together service providers, quality products, all of those sorts of things. So, you know, because business is hard, right? You know, how do you get yourself in front of people? But if we've got one hub where, you know, people can find all of those things in one space, it just makes so much easier to be able to, you know, make it accessible for everyone.
I love that. So it's www.hairbeautylifeco.com, and they are currently expanding and into partnerships / franchises / all sorts of stuff. So if you've got any questions and that's something that you want to align with, guys, then please reach out because Lyndall is an amazing business owner and a facilitator of transformation. So she'd be an amazing person to work alongside with, not necessarily for. She's working alongside. So thank you for being present, and I look forward to seeing you again soon in our one-on-one, and also just tracking your progress over the next couple of months and year, and circling back around to our zone group for the zone.
Well, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be able to, you know, for you to hold this space for me to be able to voice all of what's going inside my head. So thank you.
You're welcome. Over and out, everyone. This has been a spotlight session with Lyndall from HBLC, Hair Beauty Life Co. And we'll see you next month with another beautiful entrepreneur. All right, over and out. Life is limitless and so are you. Thank you, Lyndall.
Bye.